They look like this. Piles of paper, checking things. Here's the character designer's desk. I got to sit here because her work was done. Actually, she'd already designed the characters. And so there was an extra space there for me to sit around. And it was basically a team of 6 people that did the major work. You can barely see Matsuo here in the corner, then the computer graphics guy. The painter is here doing the backgrounds. Inside that little curtained off area, that's the guy who does color. That they often block those out so they can see the color better. And then there was another woman doing the Sakuga Kantoku, the animation director, who was checking over the keyframes. And the keyframes would be freelanced out to people, and then once the keyframes were in, they would go to Korea to have the in-between work done. And one of the interesting moments, I would be here, I went to a bunch of the voice recording sessions. One of the voice recording sessions, the sound director said to Matsuo, the director, oh, we got a couple lines here. Do you just want to say it? And he said, let's get Ian to do it. My chance. This is it. It's my chance. My debut. And so I'm going to show you this because I never get to show this. I have all of like 4 words, I think, in the whole thing. But this is episode 11 of Red Garden. I think you'll know which one I am. These girls are walking in New York City. Nani? こっちよ、上がっておいてよ。So I get to be the sketchy guy. And it was interesting. You know, it was an interesting moment for a number of reasons. But one of the things that struck me about being in these script meetings and seeing this space is that for animation, it's a kind of really interesting media form because it makes very little money, actually. That anime studios don't make a lot of money. It's so much work. It's kind of a crazy idea, in fact, to draw every frame of a movie. It doesn't add up. Even Disney didn't make money on this great animation. There's not money in it. So in some ways, the study of animation is a study of an unsuccessful, financially, media form, but a successful cultural form. And I think that's what's interesting, right? And that's what we get from looking at how people keep going, right? That there's an energy in the room that it's contagious and it draws you in. And like as I was in there, I couldn't wait for my chance. Of course, I was kind of nervous when I was doing it, but then finally, that this piles and piles of work that add up come out of a kind of devotion to the model. Now, what's interesting is that what makes animation work then is not only the people who make it, but also us, the fans, right, who get involved. And there's various ways in which a kind of fan-made production is becoming more and more mainstream, right? We look at the viral videos, we look at these YouTube celebrities. We can see that there's a new kind of openness in media today. And certainly one of the more interesting examples of this is Miku, right? And some of us, I'm sure, will be going to the show. And it's an interesting example of how there can be a kind of platform of participation that, again, opens up a possibility for a new kind of creativity to happen. We think of Nico Nico Doga, right, which is, as many of you know, is YouTube, except where when you write a comment, it scrolls across the screen as you're watching the video. So again, there's a kind of layering, not of media as content and as representation, but media also as connection, as participation, as action, right? Like these rappers saying, it's time for us to act in the world. I think that's what media is becoming. It's not just a vehicle for messages, but it's a vehicle for interactivity, right? Where we interact, we play with the characters in the world. And the kind of anticipation, right? That there's a kind of social that emerges from this virtual world. There is a soul to it, and that soul, it seems to me, comes from us. And what's interesting is then it gets taken over. What makes the Miku phenomenon so fascinating is that it bubbled up from below. right? It was not seen necessarily as something that would produce a pop star that could fill Nokia Center, right? And yet it became that. It became that through the energy of a kind of crowdsourced creativity. And we'll skip this for now. And that you can see, because someone will see it, but that you can see the kind of energy that comes out of it. And so when I was in the fall, I went to a fan convention for Vocaloid. It was only Vocaloid in Ikebukuro at the Sunshine City. And 7,000 people showed up to buy the DVDs and the CDs, the fan books, the illustration books, the jewelry, the games, the posters, T-shirts. It was really something, right? And it's an interesting, different kind of model. Where there's not a single company controls that character, right? But that character is more open for us to participate in. That character is a kind of platform in her own right. And it seems to me that it speaks to other things that are going on. This is research that was done at Comic Market, the huge convention every August in Tokyo that draws 500,000 people, 30,000 different groups. The scale is mind-blowing. I finally went to see it. It was 8 airplane hangars filled with people sitting at tables. This would hold 2 groups right here, this size table, and be 30,000 of those folks, of those groups, I should say. And they do it because it's fun. They do it because they want other people to see their work. Even though Comic Market does it for the third reason, because they say they want to have a place where people can spread their own messages and do their own kind of art. When I talk to magazine publishers in Japan, they hate it because they say they're just making money on our characters. But in fact, something else is going on. There's a different kind of value that's not necessarily captured unless we go to these places and talk to the people who are there. So to finish up, what I learned from looking at hip-hop, and what I also think we can see in anime as well, is that it's not just the message. It's not just the single voice going out from a broadcaster to a passive audience. But what matters these days is a kind of feedback loop, right, between the audience and the artist. And it's that circulatory flow of energy that gives a kind of soul, that gives a kind of value to the collaborative creativity. And of anime, of manga, of other kinds of contemporary social media-oriented forms. In fact, I think it makes the most sense to understand anime as a kind of social media because of its participatory characteristics. So that what once was a division line between the producers and the consumers is now being broken down. And we need new understandings of value, of productivity, of collaboration, of what counts as creative in order to understand the potentials that are available to us today. Thank you very much.